Hey everybody, it's Christina Holloway here, and today we're going to talk about developing your leadership style. Now, usually where I like to start is by sharing an article that I found a few years ago on Harvard Business Review. The article is called The 8 Archetypes of Leadership, and the author is Manfred F.R. Ketz de Vries. I will post a link to the article in the comment section below. The reason I start with this article is because when I talk to a client about developing a leadership style, I always want to enforce to people that there are different leadership styles. We tend to get tunnel vision and think that the only way to be an effective leader is to emulate someone who probably is successful and runs, we'll say, a Fortune 500 business, or is one of these CEO cowboys, these people who are adventure seekers who have a full and overdeveloped life, and that the only way to be a CEO or to be a leader or to have a leadership style is to be big and bold and over the top and thrill-seeking and risk-taking, etc., because those are the famous people that we see. They start out humble, they become a persona, and then they start living the life that, probably they've always dreamed of having, and once they have enough money to do it, they do it. So we can get hypnotized by that type of persona and that perception that that's the kind of person who leads a business or is an effective inspiration to other people, or is someone who we should look up to as an example of what a leader should be. Not really. So the first thing we want to do is understand that there are many different ways to show up as a leader. Now, the article that I'm going to share today is just one of many articles that are out there that tell you how to figure out your leadership style, that there are many different types of leadership out there, and that you can embody any one or multiple leadership style depending on the situation. There are books, there are podcasts, there are other articles. There's plenty of information out on the internet that can explain to you different leadership styles and different leadership types. I picked this one article because it breaks out the typical leadership styles into 8 types of style. So really quick, these are the 8 types. There's the strategist, a person who sees leadership as a game of chess. There's the change catalyst, a person who sees leadership as a turnaround activity. There's the transactor, a person who sees leadership as deal making, maybe related to mergers and acquisitions. There's the builder, a person who sees leadership as an entrepreneurial activity. Those are the top 4. And now the next 4 are the innovator, a person who sees leadership as a creative idea generation. There's the processor, a person who sees leadership as an exercise in efficiency. There's the coach, a person who sees leadership as a form of people development. And then there's the communicator, a person who sees leadership as stage management. This would be an influencer or someone who has considerable impact on their surroundings. Now, what's important to note here is that the top 4 are considered, at least the way I see them broken out, the top 4 types of leadership are about what it means to be a person who leads from the conceptual phase. And then the last 4 are people who lead through example and like to lead people. 1 is leading by concepts, strategy, negotiation, transformation. These are large, major initiatives, and a person who leads in that space is someone who leads with ideas and concepts. The last 4, this is a person who spends more of their time in soft skills, the types of influencing the people around them, making sure people feel valued and taken care of, and influencing or leading from the front of large groups of people. So you can see that there are 2 categories. In the article, what's most important is that in order to get the most out of your leadership skills, you do want to work with someone else who's complementary to those leadership skills, that your leadership skills add to a combined force. You've identified the place where you have the most strengths. Don't spend time trying to develop areas that are not strengths. Like I always mention, you have primary and secondary strengths. We want to spend as little time as possible developing areas that you've identified as a major weakness. If it's really not an area where you're going to thrive, spend as little time as possible on it. Now, the last point in this article is that we tend to rely on, or we tend to lean into more than one leadership style at a time. So the article doesn't mention that you should just pick one and then decide that's all I am. You can have multiple areas. You can lean into certain spaces. You can find a combination of these leadership skills, and that's what makes you unique. That's where you find 2 or 3 that tend to be your first, second, and third primary strengths, and then you create those into a space where you feel comfortable identifying who you are. Please go out there, find what's out there, find information, articles that help you define who am I as I step into my leadership space. Who am I trying to be? What is the space that I'm trying to occupy? Where are my strengths, and how do I turn those strengths into leadership skills? And then how do I define that for the people around me so they're not confused about understanding who I am when I show up for work? And you don't have to be an executive to have a leadership style. You can be a manager, you can be an associate, you can be an entry-level person, you can be an intern. What we want to understand is, where do you have your strengths in your leadership realm? In that space, you're going to do well if you continue to navigate your career following those leadership strengths. You're going to naturally have more successes, and that's what we want for you. Understand who you are as a leader, understand who you are as someone who can take things across the finish line, and understand who you are when you're building your wins and collecting your successes. All right, so that's it for this video on finding your leadership style. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.